the lot of stupid talk you're hearing about going into Parliament, and if you don't go in there, you can't stop certain things. We cannot stop anything by going in that Parliament as it is presently configured. A Parliament with 16 cabinet ministers cannot be stopped. It cannot even discipline the government. And we have shown that by coming on the streets amongst the people, we can determine what goes on in there. Because it was this Democratic Labour Party that stood up at the Glebe in St. George a few Sunday nights ago and said to the country and said to the government, we will not debate the new civil service bill. You had it for the last 13 years, and we are not going to debate it in just 8 days. It has in provisions that we want to revisit, and we will not be browbeaten or dragooned into debating on your terms. David Thompson said that at Glebe in St. George. Result was, the bill had to be scrapped because it was a breach of the Constitution of Barbados and would have set a precedent from which there would have been no return. This is not to say that its replacement has been much better, because the Constitution has still been assaulted by the bill that was passed in the Senate today and passed in the House last week. The only persons who can appoint civil servants under the Constitution of Barbados is the Governor General acting on the advice of the Public Service Commission. That is a constitutional provision. If Parliament arrogates to itself the right to appoint public servants in the way in which this bill is doing, the question has to be asked, when the Governor General gives his assent to the bill and it becomes an act, it's proclaimed, who is going to have the authority to write the public servants who have been appointed to tell them that they have been appointed? Ordinarily, those public servants would get a letter saying that the Governor General, acting on the recommendation of the Public Service Commission, has appointed you to the post of so-and-so. Nobody can write a letter like that to any of these over 3,000 people who are going to be appointed now, because it would not be true. It would not be true, and one has to wait and see how they're going to get around that. David Thompson was quite right in the House of Assembly when the bill was debated, when he said that the government moved from suspending the Constitution or a certain part of the Constitution to circumventing it. But the real battle is still to come. There are public servants, thousands upon thousands of them, who are angry, not that their colleagues are getting appointments, because we are all glad, we in the Democratic Labour Party are all glad that these public servants are getting security of tenure. Security of tenure allows you to plan your life and to make decisions for your family and your future. We are not criticizing the act of appointing public servants who have been acting for a long time. But they're being appointed through a shortcut, when the overwhelming majority of public servants have had to take the long route to appointment. And do not be surprised if there are going to be some constitutional challenges when the time comes for that piece of legislation to be tested. The Democratic Labour Party lawyers are on standby to challenge the government whenever the first public servant comes forward. Not one the ones getting appointed, but one of the public servants who feels wounded by what has happened. We stand ready to test the constitutionality of what happened in the House last week and in the Senate today on legal and constitutional grounds. We will challenge it as long as people step forward and express an interest in having it challenged. But this issue of suspending the Constitution or suspending any part of it must never leave your minds that any government of Barbados had the courage to even think about it should give you pause as to where Barbados is. Look, President Pervez Musharraf of Pakistan suspended the Constitution of Pakistan. But you know something? In order to do that, he needed a general's uniform. He needed soldiers in their uniforms. He needed soldiers with guns to do it. In Barbados, Mr. Arthur has thought that he doesn't need anything like that. All he needs is the simplicity and the believingness of the people of Barbados. Well, we have news for him. The Democratic Labour Party provided leadership on this issue and pushed him back. And it must now be clearly understood that we stand ready to look after the rights of the people of Barbados and to ensure that dictatorship does not catch root in this country. So, we are going into the Christmas season. We had hoped that as a party and as a country, we could all waltz comfortably and happily into the Christmas season. But events are unfolding in such a way that we have to say, like that famous American revolutionary of the War of American Independence, Thomas Paine, these are the times that try men's souls. Our souls are being tried. The souls of the people of Barbados are being tried, and we, as true men who pursue not the path where advantage lies, but the path where duty lies, stand ready to look after the fundamental rights and freedoms of the people of Barbados. And that is why I want to say in conclusion that what has happened in Barbados over the last 13 years may have depressed you. It may have made you feel that it is a waste of time bothering to vote in the next election. Let me say this to you, ladies and gentlemen. Anytime you are driving a motor vehicle and you take your hands off the steering wheel, you cannot complain about where the vehicle goes. As long as you have your hands on the steering wheel, you can determine where the vehicle goes. And in terms of national politics, the steering wheel is your right to vote. It is also your duty to vote, and I invite you tonight to keep your hands on the steering wheel and encourage every friend, every relative you have to keep his or her hands on the steering wheels and vote for the Democratic Labour Party. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.